Master your money, free your future. Welcome to Budget for Life. My name is Jeremy, co-founder of Budget for Life and professionally a money manager and financial planner, financial coach. In this video, I want to talk about some considerations you might want to have leading up to having kids, specifically some financial considerations. And I want to start off really big picture, really meta, because ultimately, there's not a specific dollar amount that if you have blank in your brokerage or in your checking account, okay, it's going to be super easy and great to have kids. And if you don't, then it's going to be impossible and it's so bad. It's really not that simple because life is not that simple. We have infinite options available to us. And so I'm going to try to talk zooming out and then try to get a little bit more granular, but getting to the exact numbers is going to be a you decision, a you research project, because again, there's so many options, so many options. So big picture, if you were going to ask me as a friend, hey, Jeremy, do you think I'm ready to have kids financially? Really, what I would want to hear about is tell me about your work. In other words, tell me how you create value, and then tell me what you've done with that value that you've created. Or, in other words, what have you done with money so far? And the reason I would ask those big picture questions is because it's not where you're at right now. It's really the direction that you're heading that's going to inform you on, are we ready to reproduce, right? The culture that is already in existence in your own heart and in your own life and in your own habits, that's what you are going to multiply. If you add a baby to your family, to your life, it's your life they're going to learn from. So you don't have to be perfect at all. I mean, at all, but it's just, are you in a, are you heading in a direction that you're comfortable with expanding, that you're comfortable with multiplying, that you're comfortable with having another human follow in your footsteps towards, and hopefully take the torch from you one day and carry it much further. So, on that work front, that creating value, if you're an employee, then, or if you're self-employed, either way, you should be able to look at your contribution and say, is everyone winning? Or in other words, if you're an employee, is the company, am I worth more to the company than what the company's paying me? If the answer is no, then that's a little bit of a red flag, right? You want to say, I am contributing real value in the workplace. And then just what's your relationship with work like? Are you envisioned for work? Do you believe that work matters? Or is everything always wrong and it's always someone else's fault and you only do it because you have to pay the bills? Again, plenty of people are in that situation and still have kids. So it's not like a disqualifier, but for you to enjoy adding financial responsibilities in your life, it would be a good sign if you enjoy the process of creating financial value. It's pretty intuitive, but hopefully that makes sense. If you've leaned into and appreciate what it takes to make money, then you will be able to continue making money throughout your life. And obviously, your ability to generate income is going to be the primary factor by which you can provide a livelihood for your kids, for your family. So, of course, how much do you make is relevant, but really, from a big picture perspective, it's just how is that value taking root in your life? If you're not sure, you should just ask your manager or your boss, how do you think I'm doing, right? If you consistently can think about your performance in the workplace and remember the feedback you've received from your peers or your supervisors, is it positive feedback? If so, great. If it's not, then I would say it's something to look into and maybe something you want to work on a little bit more. And then what do you do with the value you create? And three values. So there's this work for this value for work, this value for creating value, And then there's three kind of money values that I would want you to be leaning into and to have some legs under you with. One is generosity. So giving money away, giving time and resources away. Another is investing. So, like I said, I'm professionally, I'm a money manager. I can help you. But if you haven't already started a brokerage account, if you haven't thought about how to use assets to buy appreciating assets, that's something you would want to have in motion. And then, really, the other one is what I would call contentment, but it's basically gratitude, never being in want or in lack, which is really a mindset more than a dollar amount, and then spending less than you make. And keeping a budget, budgeting, using Budget for Life could certainly help with this. But those are three things you would want to have in motion. You don't have to be the best budgeter, the best investor, the most generous person ever. But those are just financial values that if you can go across those four, right, the work and then the three things you do with money, and you're 4 for 4, like, yes, I am on that journey, then I would say you're ready and you're prepared. And the more that you can lean into those, the more ready and the more prepared you'll be. Let's get into a couple specific questions that you might have as it relates to it. But how much does it cost to have a kid? Well, if I were to ask you, how much is your life cost? You probably don't know that clearly, especially if I were to ask you, how much is it going to cost in the coming 18 years? It's like, well, there's a lot out of your control, okay? So I'll tackle kind of four main areas here. One is birth, another is childcare, another is just their life, and then college. And again, granularly, you're going to have to look into this yourself. But how much does childbirth cost? It really depends on your insurance. For most people, that's going to be the place that you need to go to figure out the answer to that question. If you are not yet pregnant and you're thinking about setting up the best insurance situation, my wife and I, we have used CHM and really like their plans that they have specifically around maternity. It's really awesome. And I have a referral link for that if you want it. Um, but your insurance is really going to tell you how much you are personally going to be responsible for. But outside of that, I mean, generally, a doula might cost you anywhere from 300 to $900. A home birth might cost you, a midwife might cost you anywhere from 4 to 6 thousand bucks. Hospital birth could be anywhere from $4 to $12,000. But all of this is like assuming there's no other medical complications, right? It could be $100,000. You just don't know what you are going to need. Also depends on how many pain meds you take, how the birth happens, so many factors, right? So really it becomes an insurance question more than anything because usually that limits how much money is coming out of your pocket. And again, there are so many choices in life. Okay, so there are ways to do things cheaper if you want to go do things as cheaply as you can. Childcare, I would really think about what options do you have as far as your community, your support network, especially your mom and your mother-in-law, any other close friends you have that are also young moms. Just what does community look like? Because, and then also what's your work situation as far as flexibility? Really, the question becomes how many hours of childcare do you really need to pay for? And you're probably going to pay at least $10 an hour for however many hours you need to cover. So if you're putting a kid into childcare for a whole month, right, like full time, 5 days a week, you're going to keep working full time. You're probably going to spend $1,500 a month per kid. Now, if you have someone come to your house and it's only part time, or you do just a Mother's Day out drop off just once a week, or one day a week your mom comes, or every other week you and a mom take turns on Fridays. There's a million ways to lower your childcare costs, but at a high level, that's kind of what you're thinking about. Life. How much does life cost for a kid? I would say, again, there's infinite choices. But if you knew how much you spend on food, so groceries and out to eat, if you were to add up that number, let's say you're a married couple and together you spend $1,000 a month on food. I would say your child's probably going to cost you $500 a month. And obviously at first that might not be food as they're nursing or whatever, but it's probably diapers and it's probably this cute outfit and it's a little bit of baby nesting, whatever. And then it's maybe some toys and some markers and some at-home school things, and these are going to help their development and whatever, and a little bit of food, and then before you know it, they eat. Like turns out they're a human being, you know? So I would say that would be kind of a probably on the low end thought of how much is it going to cost. But again, a lot of that is how much support do you have? Are people giving you all the clothes and all the diapers? Is your mom going to be paying for everything for her grandchild? Like you have to take into consideration if any of these costs are going to be shared. But I would say at a base level, that's kind of what you would be thinking about is just adding a human to what you already do. So transportation stays the same, right? You don't need a phone for them yet. Shelter can stay the same. But when it just comes to survival, it's like, well, we need food. It's like, okay, we'll just add a human. You know, if you already have a kid, then I would say add, proportionally from 3 to 4 humans. How much, generally speaking, is this going to cost? And then what does college cost? I mean, there's such a huge variety. It costs as much as you're willing to pay. Seriously. There's community college, even school leading up to college, so post childcare, and now you're talking about schooling. It's like, well, there's public schools that are free. I mean, you pay for them with your taxes. And then there's private schools. I mean, my high school cost, I think, like $20,000 a year, so that's high school. So as much as you want to pay, there's someone that will take your money. Same at the college level. Community college obviously is much more affordable than Harvard or MIT. And there's a million scholarship opportunities. And at that point, your child's an adult and they could work and pay for some of it. And obviously, plenty of student loan opportunities. So it's not like, oh, if I don't have a college fund already fully funded at $200,000, then I shouldn't have a kid. Really, it's are you investing? The more that you're investing and the more that you're strategically allocating those investments, the more opportunities you're going to have, the more choices you're going to be able to make on behalf of your kids, on behalf of your family. And I guess that's the last question you would just want to ask yourself is how important to you is it that you have a specific lifestyle, that you're in a specific socioeconomic class? Because that's really when the numbers start to matter more. If you're just talking about, are we ready? Can we have a kid? I want to have children, and I know that they're a blessing from the Lord. Then, as long as those values are in motion, you're probably doing great. Um, but if you're thinking, I don't want a kid unless I'm sending them to private school. I don't want a kid unless we have 17 doulas there just to make sure everything's fine. Then you would want to think more strongly. And at that point, you should really work with me or any other financial planner, just like someone that's approaching retirement and they need to know really specifically, can I afford this? Here's everything that I want to afford. Again, that conversation can get really specific to you if you want that. I'd say most people, you don't really need that. It's all going to be okay. Just keep working, keep saving, keep investing, right? And keep keeping track, keep budgeting, and you will find a way. And it's not something necessarily to lose sleep over that kids are going to cost money. If you didn't want to work with a financial advisor, but you wanted to get some more data, a free option is, hey, why don't you reach out to some moms that you know that live in a city, have a similar life stage, that have a budget, say, how much did you spend on blank? And there you go. There's a little bit closer to here's what I can expect for this person, or just looking up specific people, specific services in your area. Okay, let me know what other questions you have, if this was helpful or not. I appreciate you, and I'll talk to y'all later.